respect to North Korea. So they need allies, U.S. In particular. So the U.S. can exert pressure on South Korea to have a better relationship with Japan for practical reasons. But then, during the military parade, one of the three heads of state that stood side by side with President Xi Jinping was President Park of South Korea. So what is that message? And then I understand she was given really a VIP treatment there. But historically also, it was still called Communist China at that time, that helped North Korea when South Korea and the United Nations forces were already starting to overwhelm, erasing the North Korea from the map when Communist Chinese forces came into the picture to push them back to the present line, present balance. So very, very complicated indeed. UK and France have their own interests here. And I don't think the people are saying we have to live with the new order. What is the new order? That there is going to be an emerging new superpower, militarily and economically. That the two will have to share the world stage. It cannot just be the United States. That by 2016, by 2020, it will be different. So I don't know whether UK, France would like that. I don't know whether, because that will, and you can see Russia is also starting to assert itself because they don't want to continue being looked at as a third-class power, as a regional power. So they're also entering the picture, very complicated also. They have joint patrols, exercises with China. They're there in Ukraine. They're there in the Crimea, in the Black Sea area. They have some kind of a standoff with NATO in Europe. So, but I think the main event is here in the South China Sea, in the Indo-Pacific area. And all the rest will just be curtain raisers. Thank you. I know you're the expert in Western Europe.
Last question will come from the NDCP president.
Sir, thank you very much for your very informative lecture and your challenges to all of us. 8 days from now, on October 1, I will be receiving for the first time the first Chinese student joining the MNC program at this college. There have been mixed sentiments outside NDCP concerning this. For me, this is not just a token entry of one student, but it's a signal of perhaps bigger things. May we hear your sentiments and thoughts on this?
You know, there's a very interesting book, The 100-Year Marathon by a guy named Phil Sperry. Came out recently. It's a bestseller. It shows you the history of the engagement between the U.S. and China. And he said that in the 70s, he was one of those who supported an engagement with China. He was one of those who supported the economic rise of China in the belief that an economically developed China would be a gentler China, just like what happened to Japan and Germany. So he worked with President Clinton, even with Nixon, Kissinger. He was one of those who supported China's membership in the WTO. President Clinton's engagement policy supported economic development of China by making it a bigger trading partner with the U.S. and other countries. But then, later he realized that instead of becoming a more gentle nation, they used their their newfound economic resources for making their military stronger, making them more assertive, he talked about as early as 1996 China interfering in America's internal decision-making process, interfering, trying to deal with U.S. congressmen, media, senators, put them in their sphere to be more supportive of China. And he could see the 100-year marathon, 2049, for China to become the new hegemon, starting from 1949 when Mao Zedong took over China. That is their 100-year marathon. And this jives exactly with what President Xi Jinping has been talking about. The China dream, the Silk Trade, going back to the Silk Trade of the past, but this time it's a maritime Silk Trade. So what he's saying is that we have to be really careful with this because of that particular agenda. So it's not a gentle agenda, because how can you call it gentle? President Xi Jinping talking of peace, at the same time parading his missiles and other weapons. Even in ordinary human experience, if I go around bristling with weapons, I cannot call myself a man of peace. So read that book. So now, with respect to this guy, the NDCP, of course, in Japan, in Japan when we had an international conference, we had a guy from China, but he was an academic, not from the government. I was seated right next to him when I was talking about China, about criticizing China. But being an academic, he was a gentleman enough well, he sounded very defensive. He tried to explain the situation. In a way, his presence there enriched our discussion of the strategic aspect. But at the same time, it also somehow restricted us also because we were a little polite to him instead of making it freewheeling. So my concern is that his presence here, depending on how he is, will enrich the academic pursuits of the students of NMSA, but at the same time, maybe consider his presence as a little restrictive in fully discussing the issues. Because we're polite, we're a hospitable country. How can you possibly talk of a vigorous anti-China discussion with your student from China then? Well, you mean China allowed him? Yeah, I think that's part of China's strategy also in peace. They're friendly at the same time. When I went there, I'll show you an anecdote. When I went there in China as part of President Roilo's delegation, the one who was the ambassador here, Ambassador Puyi, attended to me personally. We had a World War here when she was the ambassador. In fact, I even called her Matahari. That did not make her happy. But when I was there, she was so friendly instead of being hostile. And she even